Well, hello there, you beautiful, beautiful, amazing, wonderful people. I hope you are all well on this terrific, terrific Tuesday. You're looking terrific. You are terrific. Are you subscribed? Have you smashed like yet? If not, do it. Get it done. Tomorrow, we're going live as Bryan Kohberger enters the courtroom to find out whether there's going to be a continuance. That's going to be shown publicly, and we also know that the second part, which they're going to be discussing alternative perpetrator, possibly, that's not public, so we won't get to hear about that. But in today's video, we are looking at one of Bryan Kohberger's friends, which we'll get there in a second. Because look, we can talk about Bryan Kohberger until the fucking cows come home. Do you know what I mean? We can. And we've all got opinions on Bryan, but they come from a place of not knowing who Bryan is. We don't know Bryan. We don't know anything. That's why I'm always reserved in accusing him of this crime before the trial, and why I reserve the right to be shown that he did do it, because I understand that humans are complex creatures and we have the ability to be evil, and we've seen historically that there can be some very, very evil people who can fool those closest to them. So look, I don't believe that it would be right to say Bryan Kohberger absolutely didn't do this crime 100%, but I'm just yet to be shown. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that the evidence supports it 100%, certainly not beyond a reasonable doubt. And I think that if you're somebody who, at this stage, based on what we, the public, can see, you are willing to say he deserves to be executed, then I believe that that is premature. That's my opinion. And if you don't like it, suck me. But anyway, look, someone has come out. Will has come out. He is somebody who actually knows Bryan. He is someone who's known Bryan. His claim is that he's known Bryan for a long time. So we're going to go through the two short videos that he has on his channel together. I will have to stop it periodically. And the link to one of the videos will be in the description of this video, so you can head over there and show some love to Bryan's friend. And if you are somebody who is willing to keep an open mind and you're interested in whether William's going to say more about Bryan, then subscribe to his channel too and show him some love. He's come out and he is going to show some support for his friend. So, and I think it's good that somebody has got the stones to come out in amongst when the majority of people want to absolutely destroy this guy, when they don't know him, someone who's coming out and talking about Bryan from a different perspective. But let's go over it. Let's have a look. So this is the channel William127. And again, the link to one of these videos, I think it might be this one, is in the description of my video. And that will take you over to his channel, where you can obviously subscribe for future uploads, if William indeed is going to upload anything else. But let's have a look at what William has to say about Bryan.
We're here to talk about Idaho 4. I'm here in Poconos, Pennsylvania, where I live. Everything I say on here is my opinion. It has nothing to do with any other content creators' opinions. I don't know. Their opinions are their own. I have to say that just so I don't get in trouble. But there's a lot of gaslighters and a lot of killer channels out there that are making things up. And they don't even know the guy personally, that, they're blaming all this on. Now, I do. And if you guys, if anyone out there, if these people knew this guy personally, Mr. Kohberger, Bryan, they would know there's no fucking way in hell that he did this. He's not physically or mentally capable of doing anything like this. That is total fucking bullshit.
So, he's saying not only is he, physically incapable of doing this, but he's mentally incapable of doing it. And I think that a lot of people, again, we do have a reservation, if you like, that we understand that some people can be duped. Even those that are closest to these people can be duped by these people. It wouldn't be the first time. But there is obviously a reason why this person feels that way about Bryan. And, you know, we have yet to truly hear anybody come out and say anything too damning about Bryan Kohberger. And even in the past where people have been duped, there is also other stories that would generally support some form of psychopathy. You know, there would be something either in their childhood, in their past, something like that. And I believe that that's what the prosecution are going to try to do. I know that there was a mention of some car accident that Bryan had potentially been in, and you know that had affected him in some way, shape, or form. But maybe that was some physical issue that has rendered him unable to do specific things. We've heard that there's potential for complex, you know, movement issues and things like that. But let's get back into it and see where William goes with this.
The kid doesn't have a violent bone in his body. He's very non-confrontational. Me, I'm confrontational. You know, I'm an Aries, born April 14th. And it's obvious. But these guys out here like Gray Hughes, Tony Bruschi, fucking Drunk Parrot or whatever the fuck his name is, the one victim's father, I'm not going to say his name, but we all know who I'm talking about. You know, these fucking morons are just pushing this fucking narrative, and I think that victim's father is almost being paid by the university to do this. I also think it's pretty funny how ever since the whole thing came out about the leak and Judge Hippler not being happy about it, he lawyered up right away. And we haven't heard any more bullshit from him since. He hasn't been out there on channels spouting his fucking bullshit. So I find that a little off.
What we do know is that he has had a lawyer the entire time. You know, it wasn't that he went out and lawyered up straight after the leak information. You know, Steve Gonsalves has had that little weasel with him the entire time. And I say little weasel because I just think if he's a proper legal representative, you know, and he's doing a service to the family, then he should have advised them long ago to not speak and just to keep quiet like the rest of the families. You know, he's allowed them to consistently come out and say the things that they've said, and look where it's led to. Look where it has come to. But you know, the thing what William raises here is the same question that I did. You know, it's almost like Steve Gonsalves is being paid. I'm not saying he is being paid, but his behaviour is indicative of someone who was there's something. I said the other day, you know, Steve Gonsalves was always someone who wanted to question everything, and by his own statements would say he needed to see everything by himself. You know, he needed to see it. He weren't one that would just be told something and accept it without knowing that he had done his due diligence. And then all of a sudden, it got flipped on its head where he seems to accept everything he's told. And off the back end of, as more have come out, the more questions that you have as an individual, it's bizarre to me that he doesn't have those same questions. And bearing in mind that Steve Gonsalves himself was someone who was an antagonist of the eyewitness theory, I'm now thinking, well, was that this DoorDash situation and you was talking about this individual? And again, you don't have any questions about that? It's bizarre to me, but let's get back into it.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it was him. And he went around and said this stuff like, if Bryan does get off, how did he word it? He's going to be dealt with. Like, yeah, right, you short little fat fucker. You ain't dealing with nothing. You ain't going to do nothing. Especially with me here. You ain't going to do nothing. There are channels out there that do have an open mind and try to bring factual information out, and they actually go through and they read the court documents, and they go down through and they watch the hearings they had that were publicized, and they kind of relay that out rather than just speculating or pushing a narrative like Dateline or Megyn Kelly, Skeletor. I made this little chart because if you notice, most of the dudes that are guilders, they all have kind of one thing in common, you know, or two things really. They're short and they're fat. And it's almost like they're upset and they want to put someone in a firing squad because they're mad about it. You're probably saying, William, why are you body shaming? I'm not really. I'm just I'm just telling the truth. I'm spitting facts here. I'm overhearing factual information if you can see this. And if I missed any.
Look who's on there, look. Look at the top. That's another list that I'm at the top of. This one a bit more positive though. That's my second win in 45 years. Second win in 45 years, folks. Harsh Reality at the top there, look. We've got Pav. We've got Jules coming in at number 3. Still podium, Jules. Still podium, mate. Then we've got Bubbly just off podium. Truth and Transparency. I have no fucking clue what that says. That's way too small. Monster Metal Mayhem. You got to mention there, boy. Nika's Neuro Nuggets and a Convict's Thoughts there, look. So and who we got over the other side? The fat moron side. Tony Brewski, Meatball Head, Grey Hughes, Drunk Parrot, Inebriated Cock Channel, Reporter Room. Don't even get me fucking started on Reporter Room. Dateline, Court TV, Megyn Kelly. He said she's not fat. Howard Blumberbus and the Steve G and more. There you go. There you go. I have to agree with that list. I have to agree.
I do apologize because there are some really good ones out there and people that I think are doing a good job with their content. And over here in the fat and unimportant section, we got the usual suspects over here. Same guys. These fuckers putting out content. Some of these channels like Tony here. Tony's fat ass puts out a fucking new video like every 4 hours.
I think there's
he also puts them out on the Karen Reed thing, saying she's guilty nonstop. Like he kind of alternates in between Karen Reed and Bryan Kohberger. That guy is a fucking moron, and I don't know, he probably has a couple followers. But people who embed in this and believe the guilters, they embed in the first information they hear. And it's usually people that don't have as much common sense as some of us. And it's very difficult to convince them of the truth, even if actual factual evidence, you just really can't convince them because their mind is made up like that. It's like a cognitive bias is what it is. But take the facts from someone that actually knows. And I was also a U.S. Marine for 4 years, and I was in Afghanistan. And I did on my tour in combat in 2005 there. I know a few things about K-bars and bayonets, and I know that I wouldn't be able to go into a place and unalive 4 adults like that and not have my DNA everywhere and not suffer a black eye or like gouges from them scratching because they fought for their life. They just didn't lay there and say, "Oh, kill me." I'm just going to lay here and let you do it. Plus, with their DNA all over me, my car, my fucking apartment, it's impossible for that to happen.
And he raises a valid point. Do you know what I mean? If you're going into this house, it's getting DNA on you from the surroundings, isn't it? It's not just you leaving your DNA there, but it's the transfer back from the individuals who are fighting. Their DNA would be on clothing, it would be on the house. This individual apparently had sat down in a chair. There would be DNA everywhere. And when you think that this individual, we're trying to say that they then left the place, got into the car, and law enforcement and everybody before Bryan Kohberger's was found and tested and found nothing. They believed this car would be a petri dish of evidence, and it was nothing. And I think that's because that the being able to get out of this situation and strip yourself of any DNA whatsoever is more difficult. Even if you've got a suit, if you've got something on and you take that suit off, it comes a point where you are again coming into contact with that article, unless you're stripping that down and then you're not touching it, but then you've got gloves, but then you're touching it. It's a bizarre setup. And when you think that if this individual's wearing gloves, then we literally have a glove found at the scene that seems to have blood on the glove, but then that glove has been disjointed out of this situation. And the only thing that we have is this K-bar knife. which is the golden platter article, isn't it? And it's weird, very weird. But
like I said in the beginning, it's impossible that Bryan Kohberger did this. The kid is no killer, plain and simple. And people need to wake the fuck up and realize what's going on here. Stop following the fucking guilders. All they're doing is rotting your brain. Like me or hate me, I never said truth was going to be simple. But I'm just telling you what I know. Whether through experience or from actually knowing people personally. And it's about time someone came out and said this.
And then we've got one more video, which is a slightly shorter one, which we'll go over here.
To just make up shit.
Let's pull this back.
Good afternoon. I'm just going to talk more about Idaho 4 and Bryan. Because there's a lot of people out there that talk that don't even know Bryan personally, and I kind of feel like if you don't know him personally, then you really shouldn't be making all these opinions and assumptions about this guy if you never met him. That makes no sense to me. You know, people like Tony Bruschi, the fucking drunk parrot guy, Gray Hughes. Talk about three fucking fat douchebags, you know, that just, I don't know, they're mad at the world, they want to kill someone, they want to put this guy in front of the firing squad who they never met before in their life. They want to fucking kill this guy. Why? Because they're pissed because they can't get fucking laid? Or because they look the way they do? Fucking fat and out of shape? That's their own fucking fault. Bryan is fucking harmless. I mean, anyone that fucking would ever meet him, you know, and they would try to be told that he did his fucking crime, they would just bust out laughing. That fucking kid, he doesn't have a mean bone in his body. He's not like me. I'm fucking mean. And then this whole thing out with the DoorDash driver now saying that she saw, you know, reports coming out that she saw Bryan there. You know, let me tell you something. If you saw the body cam footage of that night, of that DoorDash driver, she was like a mess. She acted like she was high on meth. She was, as high as she was, is whenever you're at the stages of like paranoia and imagining things. And it's also proven fact that law enforcement, they'll take people that are in trouble. I mean, they'll go right to the jail. And they'll cut deals with people to just make up shit, to testify for them, to get out of jail or to get out of trouble. They do shit like that all the fucking time.
And he's right. Do you know what I mean? You can't deny it. We know what happens. And if you are someone who thinks that it doesn't happen, then I don't know whether you're being purposefully ignorant or you're just naive. But people get leveraged on by law enforcement all the time. If people find themselves in a position where they can be leveraged on, then they will be leveraged on in a situation what is going to benefit law enforcement. And, you know, is it what we're seeing in the Idaho 4 case? Who fuck knows? But can you rule it out? Fuck no.
Look at the Zach and Dylan Adams case over that Holly Bobo girl down there in Tennessee. What those TBI agents did. You know, they went and they got a guy who was in jail and got him to lie. That's all coming out now. They're getting a new trial. Those boys need to let them the fuck out. And those TBI agents ought to do 10 years in fucking prison and see how it feels. But we can't let this shit keep happening, you know, to people. And it happens around the country all the time. These fucking counties, judges, prosecutors, law enforcement, a lot of times these prosecutors and judges, and if you have a paid public, or not a paid, but a public defender, they already know what's going to happen to you before you even go there. They've already talked about it. You know, it's a fucked up mess. Our whole justice system is. But I'll be damned if I'm going to stand by and let fucking Bill Thompson's fat ass, along with that fucking fat cow Ashley Jennings, you know, railroad fucking a friend of mine, a kid that I've known forever, who's fucking like the most harmless kid. I'll be damned if I'm going to let them railroad him into taking a fall for this shit. That's not going to happen. Not on my fucking watch. I stand up for my friends. I believe friendship is one of the most important things to me. Like, I'm an Aries. You know, I was born April 14th. I'm all about friendship, passion, love. That's like what drives me in life. But I stand up for my friends, and Brian's not around right now to stand up for himself to these fucking guilders like Tony Bursky or Drunk Fucking Parrot or Down Syndrome Talk Show, whatever you call him. So I'll fucking do it for him. You know, I have no issue with that. And if anyone would have a problem with it, 526 Furnace Road, Mill Hall, PA, 17751. It's not that hard to find. I don't call the fucking cops. I ain't no bitch. So, that's the end.
So there you go. That is Will. Like I say, the links to his channel is in the description of this video. So if you don't know, if you haven't seen this previously and you want to see what more Will brings out, then go and join his channel and see what more he's got to say. But I just want to make people more aware. I know some people know that he's on the channel. He's on the platform and he's talking, but I'm also acutely aware that we have a larger audience over here and we can give him more exposure, and I think he deserves it. You know, at the end of the day, it is very, very one-sided at the moment. We know that, and he's right in what he says here, and that is that a lot of people have opinions on Bryan who don't know Bryan. You know, even myself, you know, I'll sit here and be an advocate for innocent until proven guilty, but I don't know Bryan, you know, so I can't speak on any kind of personal level. But what I will say is we are yet to truly hear anybody come out and say anything negative about Bryan, and we have seen active attempts to twist little things that he does and make them appear almost insidious, evil, and it's bizarre to me. When you have to dig that deep into the barrel to find something bad, then you have to ask the question: does it really exist, or are the people who have who want him to be guilty, they are just using it. They're twisting things, and sadly it works because people fall for it. And don't get me started on the students, because I've covered this before. You know, students, if they interviewed 100 students, Court TV, and 95 of them had good things to say and 5 of them had bad things, I'm telling you now, you're only hearing from the 5 who had bad things. But anyway, love you all. I hope you have a fantastic Tuesday. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already and smash like. You know it makes sense and it's free. Love you all. Mwah.